Have you ever looked back at your life and wondered, why did I always see the world differently? Why did I feel things so deeply, even when others brushed them off? The truth is, you were never ordinary. And Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, would have said your depth isn't a coincidence. It's a sign of rare consciousness. You've probably been told you're too sensitive, too intense, or that you think too much. But what if those exact traits are evidence of something extraordinary, the mind of a wise and differentiated soul? According to Jung, fewer than 5% of people ever reach this level of awareness. The rest live half awake, unaware of the deeper layers of their own mind. So today, we'll explore the 8 rare signs that show your lifetime of experiences, questions, and emotions have shaped you into something remarkable. Someone who sees life not as it appears, but as it really is. Because after all these years, it's time to realize you were never too much for this world. This world was simply not yet ready for you. The 8 signs of a rarely wise soul. Sign 1. Your feelings have always been deep, not dramatic. There were times when you felt emotions so powerful that words could never capture them. You sensed tension in a room before anyone spoke, and sometimes that awareness felt like a burden. But Jung believed this isn't oversensitivity, it's emotional wisdom. He called it affect-toned consciousness, the ability to feel the emotional truth behind life's events. You don't just feel for yourself, you feel with others. You've lived through joy, heartbreak, and loss, and each experience carved deeper understanding. The world once told you to toughen up. Jung would tell you you didn't feel too much. You felt exactly enough to know what's real.
Sign 2. You've always asked questions that others avoid. Since you were young, you've questioned everything. Why do people act against their own happiness? Why does society chase appearances over peace? Most people look for comfort. You looked for truth. Jung called this sacred curiosity, the drive to understand life beneath the surface. It's why you've never been content with shallow conversations or simple answers. If others once told you to stop overthinking, remember, curiosity is how wisdom breathes. Every question you've asked built a bridge between your past experiences and your deeper understanding of humanity. You don't think too much. You think with purpose. Sign 3. You learned to stand alone and found peace there. There came a time in your life when you realized that relying on others to define your worth only led to disappointment. So you stopped waiting for approval. That moment, though painful, was your awakening. Jung called this individuation, the lifelong process of becoming whole. You stopped playing roles to make others comfortable and began living as your authentic self. Solitude stopped being loneliness. It became your sanctuary. You learned that silence doesn't mean emptiness. It means space for truth. When others avoided stillness, you found yourself there. Sign 4. You sense things that others don't notice. Maybe you've always just known when someone wasn't being honest, or sensed when something big was about to change. That's not magic. It's intuition, one of Jung's most misunderstood discoveries. Intuition is the language of the unconscious, and yours speaks fluently. You pick up the subtle tone behind a sentence, the pause before someone lies, or the energy in a place that feels off. It's not imagination, it's perception, sharpened by years of observation and empathy. You've spent decades listening, not just to people, but to life itself. And because of that, you now see what others miss.
Sign 5. You've always needed meaning more than approval. There's a quiet ache in people who live without purpose. You've seen it and refused to live that way. You might have walked away from jobs, friendships, or expectations that didn't align with your values. That wasn't rebellion, it was alignment. Jung taught that some souls can't survive on surface living. For them, meaning isn't optional, it's oxygen. You are one of those souls. The things you once thought were weaknesses, your honesty, your depth, your constant need for purpose, were never flaws. They were your soul refusing to shrink. Sign 6. You've outgrown people, environments, and even versions of yourself. You've said goodbye more than once, not because you stopped caring, but because you started growing. Each time you shed an old version of yourself, it hurt, but you couldn't ignore the call to evolve. Jung described this process as psychological rebirth, the death of the false self and the emergence of the real one. People might not have understood why you changed, but your evolution was never meant for their approval. It was meant for your wholeness. And that's why you now walk lighter, because you've learned to let go of who you were to honor who you've become. Sign 7. You bring calm and transformation wherever you go. Ever notice how people open up around you, even strangers? They sense something in your presence, safety, understanding, truth. Jung said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemicals. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. You have that transformative presence. You don't fix people, you make them feel seen. And in that space, healing happens naturally. But remember Jung's warning, protect your energy. Your gift of empathy is powerful, but not everyone is meant to receive it. Use discernment. Your peace matters too.
Sign 8. You feel guided by something bigger. You may not call it destiny, purpose, or faith, but you've always felt something guiding you. That quiet knowing that you're here for more than the ordinary. Jung called this the transcendent function, the dialogue between the conscious self and the deeper soul. You might not always see where the path leads, but you trust it now, because life has shown you that everything, even the detours, had meaning. This guidance isn't a mystery anymore, it's your connection to something greater, something timeless. If you recognize these signs in yourself, it's not coincidence, it's confirmation. Every hardship, every doubt, every sleepless night spent wondering, why am I like this? It was your consciousness unfolding. You've spent a lifetime becoming rare. Now it's time to embrace it. Because you're not too sensitive, too deep, or too complex. You are simply fully awake. The wisdom journey and legacy. After a lifetime of learning, growing, and feeling deeply, you've reached a stage few ever do, psychological wholeness. Carl Jung believed that true maturity begins when we stop chasing who we think we should be and start honoring who we already are. You've lived that truth. Every challenge you faced wasn't a setback. It was training for wisdom. Every loss made space for compassion. Every ending carved room for authenticity. Now you're not searching for meaning, you are meaning. You have become the teacher, the calm in the storm, the quiet presence that reminds others that peace is possible. And that is your legacy. The world may never fully understand the depth of your journey, but it doesn't need to, because your wisdom speaks through how you live, how you listen, and how you love. If you recognize yourself in these signs, take a moment and type below,
I've earned my wisdom and I'm proud of it. Because you haven't just lived a long life, you've lived a conscious one. And that makes you truly rare.